Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper, and we're here today with Diane Dempster of Impact ADHD. Diane, welcome to the show.
Hey Jeff, glad to be here.
So how do you get your kid to do what you want them to do?
You know, I get this all the time. It's my parents, they talk about, I'm a parent coach, and so one of the things I hear all the time is, why can't my kid just, and you fill in the blank, you know, whether it's put their clothes away or pick up their towels or, you know, clear their place after dinner or do their homework when I ask them. And I think that what happens is that we don't realize that there's a lot of steps to that. You know, we just say, go do this. Let's use the pick up your towels thing. You know, go do this as an example. And then when it doesn't happen, we don't understand why. There's really four things you want to pay attention to. One is, first of all, make sure you have their attention. So many times we're shouting from the other room or we're, you know, talking the other direction, and our kids have a difficult time with hyperfocus. And so if they're watching a TV show or they're reading a book, you know, by the time they realize we're talking to them, and they'll pick up their head and they'll go, oh wait, mom said something, and they won't even know that what it was. So first of all, make sure you have their attention. Number two, make sure you have clear expectations. So pick up the towels and put them up in the bathroom on the hook. So you want to make sure that you're clear about what you want. Number three is about helping them through the transition, because they're doing something and you want them to do something else. And so maybe you want to give them a warning and say, in 5 minutes, I'm going to want you to go into your bedroom and pick up the towels and hang them up. So they're not having to do it that moment, because it's difficult to do it right now for the ADHD brain. And then the fourth thing is to really follow through and help them to make sure that they get it done. So many times we'll holler something and then we'll leave. We won't realize that they have broken their hyperfocus, or they're still hyper-focused on something, and so then we get mad and frustrated, and it's really just that they weren't successful in managing the transition and they needed some additional help.
So I'm kind of hearing is, number one, don't scream in the other room, go pick up the towels, because you don't really have your attention, so you need to go get their attention. Sometimes, I know for adults it's a matter of you need to touch them a little bit to kind of get their attention. So that's the first thing, because if you don't have their attention, they're not going to do it. And the second thing is when you ask them to do something, you need clear expectations. It's just not pick up the towel. Pick up the towels in the bathroom and put them on the hook is much more explicit directions, so you set what those expectations are. Then the idea is to kind of guide them, to kind of get them up, kind of doing it. Matter of fact, if you've never actually demonstrated to them before, you might try that. And then kind of follow up to see if they executed that in a reasonable period of time. Is that accurate? It
is, and I think the last one's really important, because we tend to just drop assignments and then run as parents, and sometimes our kids get them and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, we get frustrated instead of figuring out what it was that broke down in the process.
So as a parent, I'm not a parenting expert like you are, but I am a parent. I've been humbled by the experience. And one of the things that I found that's actually difficult for me is doing what we just talked about on a consistent basis, because what'll happen is I might do it once or twice and my sons will do it, what I want them to do, but as I start to kind of drift away and it's kind of like they're testing me a little bit, and if I'm not following up so often, they don't end up doing it. So it's interesting, because I find myself having to focus on me to train myself to do that, and if I do that, they'll execute it. You want to comment on that?
No, I do, and I think that we forget sometimes that it takes at a minimum 18 times to build a habit. You know, and that's just pure science, whether you're ADHD or not. And so we think, you know, that our kids should be able to do it, but if they aren't doing it regularly or routinely, and they don't have a structure to know that the minute I take a shower, I hang up my towel, and they have that routine and they do it 18 times in a row successfully, it's going to be hard for them to do it. And so we've got to follow through, and we've got to make sure that they can be successful.
There you have it, everybody. There's some great tips, and kind of focus on the routine to make it happen. If you do that and you're diligent, I think you might find some different results. So Diane, thanks for coming on the show.
Glad to be here, Jeff.